Hey everyone, quick disclaimer before this episode. Unfortunately, something went wrong with the recording software, so half the episode got cut. So for this episode, I'm going to give you a very brief description on what the podcast is about, and we'll jump right into it. On this episode, we're going to be discussing cable and how streaming services have made cable pretty much redundant. So without further ado, welcome to episode 5 of the After Dark podcast.
When I had cable, I only watched like a total of 10 shows. Granted, I was younger, so a lot of it was like cartoons and stuff. But I liked watching movies. I liked watching Animal Planet. And there's always shows I wanted to watch too, like Nat Geo Wild. I was big into animals. I loved watching animal documentaries. Nat Geo Wild is, of course, known for that. But we're already paying a significant amount. We were paying probably an average of like $140 a month about like 10 years ago for cable. And you had to pay extra for Nat Geo Wild. So on top of all this, on top of all the fees that I stated earlier, you still had to pay more to get more channels. But why couldn't I just pick that? Why couldn't I just get rid of old channels that I never watched? I never watched like the Home Network where it's all those like house renovation. I never watched any of that stuff. My family never watched any of that stuff. So why did I need it? And I think what really made streaming services so popular is because you have the option of what you want. Granted, you have a lot more to look at, but it's a lot cheaper. Granted, around the same time, Netflix, it had a lot of shows they didn't necessarily watch, but you had the options to watch a lot of them, and for a significantly less price. Around 2012, Netflix averaged around $7. $7, and other streaming channels actually started coming into the picture. You had Amazon Video, you had Hulu. Those also are averaged around the same price. But of course, a good thing has to come to an end when it comes to corporations and them getting their money. Around 2022, we saw an increase in Netflix prices by around 90%. Hulu had a 25% increase, and Amazon Prime Video had a 34% increase. Now, there's a lot of streaming services out there. You can count Peacock. You can count, like, I think it's Tubu or something like that. But the Amazon, Hulu, and Netflix are the big main three services. Netflix is actually still the reigning streaming services. It always has been. But, I mean, Netflix had a total increase of 90%, knowing that they can get away with it. Now, I pay about $16.57 a month for Netflix, which isn't too crazy, but it had to go up by 90%, and it couldn't just keep the same price around. So I was kind of curious, CH, because I guess I didn't really ask you. Do you still have cable? I mean, what streaming services do you have? Do you have a preference on which ones you prefer?
Well, my parents still have cable. I don't watch cable. For a long time, I had Netflix and I have Hulu with Spotify, but like I don't pay for Hulu separately. I get it in a package deal, $10 a month for Spotify Premium and Hulu.
Something
And
cable does not do as well.
yeah, so I don't pay for any subscriptions other than Spotify, and like when it comes to streaming like TV and movies, I don't have anything except for Hulu. I use like other things that I probably shouldn't get into.
Other licensed,
If you know what I mean.
yep, other
And
completely licensed and legal services.
yeah, so I mean, I don't do that. I don't have like a pirate ship, or I'm not like sailing the seven seas, but I don't have Netflix anymore. I mean, look at the stuff that Netflix is doing. I mean, they're making it where you can't share your password anymore. I think that Netflix has been pushing their bounds for a long time, and I don't, to be completely honest, I don't have any faith in the people who have Netflix. They're just gonna keep pushing the envelope because no one does anything to stop them. And you could say a lot about that with a lot of things that are going on in the world. Is like people just aren't doing anything about it. So it's just a new normal. Like, Netflix is increasing their prices by $10. Why? I don't know. Because they can. Guess we just have to fork over the $17 a month now and whatever. We need our Netflix. So I don't have it personally anymore. I did. I use Hulu. whenever I need to watch something.
I love Hulu. I think that's my
I would
favorite streaming
never
service.
pay for it
No,
separately. I would never pay for it separately.
I've done Disney Plus for a while, but like, I don't know, man. It wasn't necessarily like what I was looking for. I just never really had like too much of a Disney upbringing. So I watched a couple things that were like popular, like Bambi and all that, but it wasn't enough to keep me around. I don't think it was justified. And I think that was kind of like a common theme because just like you said, the Spotify and Hulu package, I noticed that Disney Plus is including several other bundles as well because, you know, you pay one price, you get two. So obviously people are going to buy it. But Netflix is not one of them. Like you said, Netflix is super popular. They stopped that password sharing. I think that's just another money grab. Well, of course, it's a money grabbing tactic because more accounts have to be made.
Yeah.
I never paid for Netflix in my life. I spent several years on Netflix because I've used, even though I didn't live in the same household, I used the same. I used my grandma's account. I used my mom's account. I used my girlfriend's account. I used several different accounts, but I never actually put my own personal money into it. Now that they actually cracked down, I think they had 2 or 3 warnings. I think the first, I know for sure they had one where they ended up backing out of it. I think it was the beginning of 2022 where they said they were going to start cracking down on that, but it actually transferred over to 2023. And I'm okay not having Netflix. I don't feel like I'm missing anything out of my life.
Well, they cancel all the good shows, so I mean, there's no point in having it anyway. Any good Netflix original they come out with, it gets canceled after a season. So, what's even the point?
And that's the good stuff. All the like bad stuff. That one thing I don't really appreciate is a lot of companies or directors is trying to see what people like. So, for example, The Witcher, The Last of Us, and a lot of times the directors don't actually like how that story went. So instead of reenacting it for what the audience actually liked because they're a fan of that, they're altering it. I know that in The Witcher, Geralt of Rivia, he's a Witcher. He's the best Witcher out there. He's a Witcher that went through multiple transformations because his body handled it so well. With like mutagens from monsters. So he's like top of the line, like healthy as you can get, like superhuman. And of course they decided to give him a disability because the authors, the director wanted to make it more relatable. Henry Cavill, the previous Witcher, was a huge Witcher fan, and he actually, I heard that the actress for Yennefer actually was upset that Henry refused to do a sex scene with her because he's like, it's not part of the lore, it's not actually part of the story, but they just wanted it done. I mean, I have a theory that, you know, she had a little bit of attraction to him.
Who was upset that the one who played Yennefer?
The actress for Yennefer was upset that there wasn't a sex scene with him or her and Henry.
I've never read the comics or anything, or like books, whatever the hell they are, but there's multiple sex scenes between Geralt and Yennefer in the games.
There's a lot in the games. I didn't watch the show,
but from what I do understand, the show is based off of the books. It's not based off of the games.
Yeah, and I know he's a very big fan of it, but I'm assuming that it was the scenario of it. I'm assuming that they wanted to spice it up to, you know, wow, it's saucy. Of course people are going to watch it. And there's just like, from the first 2 episodes of the show, I was into it. I was like, this is pretty good. About the 3rd episode, I was like, I don't even feel like The Witcher. Now, I started with The Witcher 3. I haven't read any of the books, but I watched gameplays of the previous Witchers. I've researched multiple things because if you're interested in the game, obviously you're going to sit there and look it up.
I can comment a little bit on The Witcher 1. It sucks. Combat's horrible. The story's okay, but the game... it
did not age very well.
The game is terrible. The story is good. The game is terrible. You're better off just looking it up on YouTube, watching a game movie of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I tried to replay The Witcher 2, but the combat was just not there. Of course, I love the story, so I just watched game movies on it. But Henry Cavill and the directors, the studio, ended up getting in a giant argument over him trying to stick with the lore, and the director even said that she doesn't even like The Witcher. So, if somebody doesn't like The Witcher, why are they allowed to direct it? And that's the thing, too, is, like I said, they're trying to market off what people like. Streaming services, even cable. Ben 10. You got Teen Titans. You got the Ben 10 remake. You got Teen Titans Go. Uh, and you have all these. You have the Little Mermaid remake. You have the Mulan live action. Everybody's trying to go for a live action. Everybody's trying to go for a remake. Why are they trying to do that? It's what it does. Because nobody wants to do anything original. They know that there was a profit off of this. They could just go, check this out. It's updated now. It looks better. Look, it's prettier looking. It sounds terrible. We have non-authentic characters to the story, which I know that's super debatable. It's a sensitive topic on how people feel about it. The new Ariel partner, or the new Ariel actress. I don't personally, if she does a good job, then she did a good job. But why do they have to find somebody to replace Ariel, who isn't, looking or even remotely corresponding to the original Ariel character? Why not create a whole new story? You could even use the same universe. There are several different races and origins from the Little Mermaid, and yet they don't profit off of that. They go, Ariel is a popular name, so we could just use that as a marketing technique. Ben 10, I grew up with the original Ben 10. I even rewatched when I was older. I loved it. I was a complete nerd about it. Then I watched some of the Ben 10 remake. I was like, okay, you know what? I don't really like the art style, but it's Ben 10. Maybe I can get more into it. And it feels so forced. It has no real impact on the story at all. It's like, wow, there's a bad guy here. Check this out. I go hero mode for 2 seconds. It's 15-minute little clips. Now there's shows like Adventure Time who could fit a lot of stories into that, but Adventure Time is original. The Ben 10 remake is not original. So you're actually pushing off the previous audience, the people that want to experience this. And personally, I have 2 little nephews. They're around the ages of 10 and younger. They actually grew up with the new Ben 10 remake. And I was like, hey, that's not that good. You should watch the original. Yep. I was like, that's not that good. And so when I showed them the original, they're like, this looks weird. I don't understand this. I don't like it. And I feel like the original Ben 10 was way more complicated, and I felt like you actually had to follow it, and you felt involved. And there was actually heart and effort put into it compared to some silly little cartoons. And I feel like because it's easy to profit off of, it's colorful, it's silly. I feel like it's just profiting off of little kids. Oh, little kids won't understand this. They just care about if they laugh or not, or if it looks cool. So we're just going to use that to our advantage, and it's working.
See, my standpoint on all that is, I think people get so hung up on, when they remake something and they make the character, black when they were originally white. I mean, that doesn't bother me. I judge a movie based off if it's a good movie. I mean, if people could do whatever they want, but if it's a good movie, like the Mario movie, for example, people were, hating on it because Chris Pratt was voicing Mario. Do you really want to listen to a Mario movie where the dude who did the original voice is like, oh, mamma mia, I'm gonna jump over here, princess? That shit would get annoying after an hour and a half. No one wants to hear that. You got to get a normal guy to voice it. The movie is good. If the movie's good, then what's the issue? You know what I mean? It's people get so hung up over stuff that doesn't matter, somebody's skin color changing. The real issue lies in, why are all these movies getting remade? Like you said, make something new. Stop trying to capitalize off of something that's already been done before. And
you could even use the same universe.
Yeah, that's it. That's the issue here. Not the fact that, they're making Ariel black instead of white. No one cares. Well, unfortunately, people do care about that. But the problem is that it's another Little Mermaid remaster. Make something new. We're tired of seeing the same old things done over and over again. And, the reason is because it's all soulless now. It's not about making this movie because we want to make this movie. It's what can make us the most movie to bring us the most profit. Everything is just all about money. And it goes like that for movies, games, anything. It's all just about how much money you can make off of it. And the worst part is no one even has any original ideas. So they just keep going back into what worked 40 years ago. And then they're like, oh, hey, let's remaster this. This will get us a quick cash.
Yeah, see, that's Yeah, I guess I should specify. Like, I don't care that Ariel's black if she was white. Like I said, if she's a good actress, she's a good actress. It all lies within the directors. The directors are the ones that write the script. They're the ones that formulate it. They're the ones that take it from paper into a reality, and they're allowed to get into like it's profiting, it's working, so more are picking it up, and they're like, at the end of the day, it's a paycheck. At the end of the day, I get to pay for the stuff I want, the stuff that I need, and it's out there. I don't have to worry about it anymore. However it goes, it goes. Now, I do want to comment on the Mario movie because they had like the original Mario show and all that, and I actually liked that. I did like the
I had the
authentic.
DVD.
Yeah, I liked the voice, because it was like sort of from the game. And the thing that I didn't like from Chris Pratt, I watched the movie. I liked the movie. It was a pretty good movie. Like
I liked it.
for a Super Mario movie, I did enjoy it. But Chris Pratt was like, I want to do a different take on it. That's cool. I get that. But for like such a hyped movie and stuff like that, I definitely feel like it should be more authentic. I think if he wanted to do something else, he should do a different character. Like Jack Black, I never would have expected Bowser to sound like that. But Jack Black had such power and emotion into it. But that's another thing, is it was going to be such a big movie, and a lot of it goes into the people that are in it as well. Wow, let's throw Chris Pratt in there. It's going to be so fun and nice. The new Witcher, back onto The Witcher, because, I love The Witcher. The new Witcher, I believe, is Liam. I'm pretty sure it's Liam Hemsworth. Hemsworth. And, he's a pretty big name. He has a very large name, and Henry Cavill's a large name. Got a lot of people on there. He's leaving. Wow, let's throw another big guy in there. He's muscular. He's handsome. People are going to pay attention to it. And I just feel like it's such a cheap way. Now, obviously, he could be a great actor, and he could add great stuff into it. But
it's gonna be a dead show anyway. If they're going off of it, like anyone who liked The Witcher,
you're switching the lead.
Yeah, if anyone who liked The Witcher, they're gonna stop watching it. So they better hope that they have a brand new, nice idea and do it justice. Because anyone who liked The Witcher, they ain't gonna watch that no more.
Yeah. Once again, why would you have a director that doesn't like the Last of Us, another Netflix series? The Last of Us. The director actually told. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the actress that played the girl, but the director actually told them, do not watch anything about the game. Don't learn about the game. Don't know. It's my story. This is how it's going to be portrayed. I haven't seen The Last of Us show. I think you have. So if you enjoy it. Yeah, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
I watched like the first 2 episodes, but it was honestly kind of boring.
Yeah, and the actress that played the girl, I'm sorry, was it Ella?
Ellie.
What was her name? Ellie. I'm sorry, Ellie. I knew that, but the actress that played her was like, I actually snuck off and I was watching gameplay of the game, and I loved it. It was fantastic. It was so good. Now, The Last of Us, in case you're not into gaming, The Last of Us is overrated?
I think so, yeah.
Or the show?
The game and the show. Well, I don't know about the show, but the game, people act like that game is the second coming of Christ. And I mean, it's a really good game, but like, shit, I think Days Gone had a better story than Days Gone did. Or than The Last of Us did.
The Last of Us, I think it was... It had a lot of intense moments. I think you're able to get pretty emotionally attached to it.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, The Last of Us was amazing, but do I think it warranted being remastered 4 times? No.
Yeah. And if you're not a gamer, The Last of Us was such a popular game. It blew up. It was on several platforms, remastered, or like you said, remastered several times. It had a second game coming out that was very, very popular. Did very well indeed. So why not stick with that? Really, I've only heard good things about it.
People just didn't like it because of how they took Joel out. I don't know. I didn't like.
I was gonna say I don't think they liked how they switched like the lead character.
I watched like about 6 hours of a game movie about it, and I don't know. It didn't seem like a bad game to me. It's not something I'd ever really want to play, just because I'm just not really into The Last of Us like that.
And there's a lot of games out there to play instead. It's honestly kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
But if it did so well and people liked it and you had an audience, why go for something different? Why not tell the actresses and the actors to watch that? That way they can get a feel of who the character is. They could have more of an emotional connection. They could see the shoes that they have to fill and execute it like beautifully, but you're restricting them from that. You aren't giving them a chance. So not only does your project not do well, you're also putting a bad reputation on you, a bad reputation on your staff, and you're making the fan base bad. There's so many things out there. The last Avatar movie was absolutely atrocious. I'm sure you've heard that several times. The last Avatar movie,
I actually haven't.
absolutely.
I never watched the original Avatar movie either.
Um, it was awful. I don't know how else to word it. Like the firebenders, they like had to steal fire from other things. They pronounced the
Oh
names
wait,
wrong.
wait, hold on. Are you talking about Avatar, like the Last Airbender?
The live action. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I
the
thought you were
live-
talking about the Avatar with the blue guys running around.
Yeah, I forget I have to specify because it's like, I mean, they're the
Avatar:
exact same.
Last
Both are
Airbender I
popular.
know even less of, and I've never even seen like the blue avatars. I
Yeah,
watched,
the
like, season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender when I was a kid, but I don't remember nothing.
I rewatched it probably like 2 years ago, and I loved it. I haven't watched Legend of Korra yet. I'm trying to get there. I just got a little bit mad on how it started, but I know people keep telling me all the time to watch it. It's phenomenal. But Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action, like they tried changing so many things. I mean, like Aang is how it's pronounced in the show, and they're like, actually, it's more accurate if you go Ong. So the entire time in the movie, they're going Ong.
You're
Ong.
talking about that
Ong.
horrible live action from like 2011?
Yep.
I remember that movie now. Yeah, I haven't seen it in probably about 12 years, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, after I watched the show, of course I was going to watch it. I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. I understand the show now. And I watched all of it, and I don't think there's a single point in the show or in the movie I was like, this is redeemable. I actually enjoy this.
I don't remember. I remember him like sitting in a cave or something, and that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, I think it was probably the part where like he was in the iceberg for like 100 years before it melted, and he had to save the world. I recommend it. It's pretty good. I like to watch a lot of cartoons, but I guess I should also point out that cartoons are not just for children. They're made by adults who wanted to put a story into
Rick and
them.
Morty.
Yeah, Rick and Morty. Well, that's just a show among gods. You know, season 6. You know, season 6 they keep it non sarcastically
sir.
whatsoever.
You don't have to explain. You see, I watch Rick and Morty, so I am a fellow Einstein
Yeah,
as
so-
well.
Yeah, so telepathically you understand what I'm saying word for word.
Absolutely,
because-
exactly. Telepathically, I hear you.
Yeah, season 6 it did not get boring whatsoever. There's not a lot of questionable moments, and I'm glad that they added so much incest.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some questionable moments. Like, I mean, they're going real heavy on the incest for some reason. Like these past couple seasons, and there's like a joke.
Wish, but
Yeah, there's like a joke that it was because that's what that one Morty wished for when he dropped like his thing in the garbage disposal. But yeah, it's getting kind of weird. I don't know what that's about.
yeah, like
They're going heavy on it for some
it's like
reason.
beating a dead bush. I mean, they had like a giant, like mutant incest baby that lives in space that
Named
they tried to,
Naruto.
named Naruto. Another reason why that show is a show amongst gods. But it just, yeah, Rick and Morty. I like it. I try to watch it, or I guess I did watch it all.
I love it. I can't wait for more.
I can't wait for more either, but it's just a lot of it's like rinse and repeat. You know, some shows can go on forever. Some shows can't really last that long.
I think Rick and Morty's got the potential.
Rick and Morty forever, 20 more seasons. Whoa, let's go.
I think
Woo.
Rick and Morty has the potential to be like a South Park, dude. I feel like that show could go on. Well, I mean, they fired Justin Roiland, so now for the next season, we'll see what happens.
That's a good point. I heard that they have a couple other writers, and I think I heard that Justin Roiland was the main
Innocent.
advocator. Well, yeah, he was innocent. The court
It's like
case showed
people-
that he wasn't guilty.
People
But
didn't learn
cancel
from the
culture is so strong.
Yeah, people didn't learn from the Johnny Depp thing, where like he got absolutely destroyed and his career was over, and then turns out he was the one getting abused. Like, people just didn't learn from that. Somebody says, like a woman says, "Oh, he hit me," and then that dude's career is just boom, gone,
I
guilty
actually
until
heard
proven
that
innocent.
Disney tried to rehire him for the
Yeah, he didn't go back.
Pirates of
Go
the
wood.
Caribbean role, and he was like, "Absolutely not! You guys
Yeah,
didn't believe me. Like you thought I was a
exactly.
piece of garbage." Um, but yeah, Justin Roiland, I heard that he was kind of like a big pusher for the whole incest jokes. So
That doesn't surprise me. That dude's weird.
he is weird. He is innocent, but he's weird. Um, but I just don't feel like a lot of shows put effort into it anymore. I feel like a lot of there are good shows like here and there, but they're not popular. They're not mainstream. I feel like a lot of the mainstream shows are once again rinse and repeat remakes, um, and really, you can see a lot of that on streaming services. Back to the whole cable and streaming services thing a bit. I think the only thing personally, I love my streaming services. I think it's way cheaper compared to having cable. Once again, over $220. The average American spends only like $45 a month. They have about it averages about every American has like 3 streaming shows. It says 2.8, but we're just going to round it to 3 streaming services. Um, But it's just cable. The only thing I could really find is it's only good for sports now. Now, it more of like the pay per view. It's like my brother, he's absolutely obsessed with like boxing, MMA. He loves keeping up on that stuff. He has cable. He doesn't really watch streaming service except for Hulu, as far as I know. But Hulu isn't going to give you that MMA experience to where you have to do the pay per view. You're not going to watch the newest football game. And there's the argument where it's like, well, you could watch it online after it's done. But would you rather find out if somebody wins in the moment or find out after everybody already knew and potentially already have it spoiled for you? I think that's the only redeemable trait in cable is just, well, I guess there's like, obviously you get to see it, new shows when they come out, but commercials, that's another thing. With cable, you don't have the option to get rid of commercials, and streaming services you do. And when you're in the middle of a show and let's say like your favorite character dies, oh no, like my favorite character died since season 1 and we're in season 12, and all of a sudden, Arby's, we have the meat. Now welcome to a 30-second ad, ad 1 of 2, where you have to wait a whole minute. Or some ads on YouTube, where I've seen 15-minute ads on YouTube, man. I refuse to pay for YouTube Red, though. I will never give YouTube any of my money. I just don't.
I had like a
don't find it redeemable
3-month free trial for YouTube Red, and it was pretty good, but I wouldn't pay for it either. And I miss like the old commercials on cable back when I was a kid, because commercials actually were like interesting and funny back then. I mean, like they stuck with you. Like nowadays, you could still remember those commercials, like that getting your college degree online with that one chick that was like a waitress. Yeah. You got the
FREE, that spells free.
Well, that was the car one. That was the credit report.
Yeah, well, I know it's different, but
I was like, I remember like the old school Geico commercials where it was just like whistling. I remember
boots and pants, boots and pants, boots and pants.
What the hell is it? 800-588-2300 Empire. Like all those old
AG Wentworth.
Yeah. 877 cash now. See, like those commercials stick with you. And I mean, like nowadays you just don't got that anymore. Like that was back in the day when there was actually like people cared about getting their product out there, and it wasn't just to like get it out there for money. It's like, well, we need something that's going to be catchy and stick with people, and like 10, 12, 15 years down the line, we still remember those commercials. Like that's how impactful they were. And that's just like what we need more of nowadays. And that's probably another reason why cable is dying, because like you said, why would you pay for cable when you could spend the same amount of money or less just going on a streaming service, and then you can have whatever you want on disposal, so you don't have to wait for something to be on at a certain time or a certain day. You don't got to deal with commercials, because it's not like the commercials are good anymore anyway. It's like there's no point in getting cable nowadays. It's just everything is online, everything is digitalized. There's no point in having it anymore. It's a waste of money unless you don't have something that can actively stream, like an Xbox or a PlayStation or a computer, or hell, even a smart TV nowadays. I'm pretty sure you could just stream off your TV directly.
That's what I do.
Yeah, so I mean, like, unless you don't have anything like that and you just have like an old school TV, like not a smart TV. I don't have a smart TV. I got an old school one. old school flat screen. Like, unless you don't have something that's capable of streaming, you're probably better off just going out and buying one and then canceling your cable and then just streaming. Because cable is just not worth it anymore. Like, there's no incentives. Unless you get it with your internet. Then it's different.
Yeah, and the thing with Netflix, like I said, it's about like $16, $17 a month compared to the $220. Netflix has over 3,600 movies and over 1,800 TV shows. Netflix alone provides so much content that why would you even need to go onto cable? Like, I don't see the benefit of it. And I guess a lot of people didn't at all either, because in 2022, it was reported that 5.9 million people actually got rid of their cable. 5.9 million. Yeah, it was. I think it's like around 42% of Americans in 2022 actually kept up with their cable. A lot of them actually, as you can imagine, pair up cable with streaming services. And I get that we still have like boomers around. There's that older generation that like their cable. My great grandma was the same way. She would just play her old shows. She loved MASH. MASH was a pretty good show.
I will say there is something like just nostalgic about being.
It's definitely nostalgia.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes it's nice to just channel surf like back in the day. But that's all it is nostalgia. So I mean, like, if you grew up with that and you miss it, then that's the only way I could see people paying for cable. But like, one of the kids from the newer generations that didn't grow up watching cable, they're gonna end up like dying off, people who watch cable, because these newer generations, they don't do that. They go on YouTube and they go on whatever else.
It actually started with our generation, because since 2013 they actually started seeing declines in cable. So since 2013, I think it was.
That ain't our generation. We would have been 13.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good point, but it's like
That's
our generation, as
generation.
in the sense of that we start growing up and we start like kind of phasing out of that. And especially like you said, the newer generation, my nephews, like, and they never really watched cable. I mean, if they want to watch Family Guy because they're 10 years old and they get to watch Family Guy, I guess.
I wasn't allowed to do anything when I was that young.
I wasn't allowed either.
I
But that
wasn't allowed
didn't
to play
stop
M-rated
me.
games.
Watching Cartoon Network, and it's like, sweet, the last episode of Ben 10 aired, and then all of a sudden, black screen, you see white letter, Adult Swim, and you're like, ooh.
I
Looking
remember
around to make sure mom doesn't walk in.
my parents actually took all my M-rated games away and locked them
Wow.
in the gun safe, and then I was eventually allowed to get them back, but I don't remember why. I think I was just being bad. And then I got them taken away, and I was only allowed to play like E for everyone. I wasn't even allowed to play like T for teen games till I was like supposedly until I was like 12 or 13, but they didn't stick with that.
That's crazy, because I thought you were playing, like, I don't know, GTA 2 when you came out of the womb.
No, I wasn't allowed to play Grand Theft Auto until I was like, shit, man, 15, 16,
Wow.
maybe like, yeah, 15, 14,
GTA
15.
5 is my first GTA.
No,
my
no,
dad-
I was younger than that. I was like 12 or 13, because I remember the first GTA I ever played when I was a kid, like real kid, I think my uncle gave it to me, was GTA Vice City, and my mom took that shit away instantly. And then when I was like 12 or 13, I was able to get Grand Theft Auto 4. And then in 2013, when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, I bought that. But I was able to play like Saints Row 3 when I was like 11, which in my opinion is kind of worse. But like, my mom didn't know that.
Not as much titties, but definitely, like, you're beating.
You could have a
with
giant
dildo.
dildo bat. I mean,
Yeah.
yes.
Which was crazy strong. It was definitely an overpowered weapon.
Yeah, like I was playing that at like 11, 12 years old, and like that was okay, but I wasn't able to play Grand Theft Auto.
All the R-rated games I played was only with my dad. My dad didn't care. He was like, at 12 years old, he was like, "You're mature enough. I trust you not to play GTA." Well, as a developing teenager, that was a big mistake. But, you know, I've heard stories of, like, I remember driving to school one day and the news station talking about how this one kid decided to attempt to hijack a plane, and he blamed it on video games. And maybe that's a topic for another podcast for another day, about how people like to blame video games and shows for everything.
Yeah, for sure, because there's a lot of
Even though-
examples.
Yeah, even though books are still around, but books have been banned for literal like there's books that have been banned for literal hundreds of years, just because of like society decided that it wasn't good enough. Even though if somebody is like if that little kid decided that, oh wow, I could steal a plane in real life, he obviously can't tell the difference between like fiction and
That's
reality,
a
and that's
mental
not
problem.
on. Yeah, that's not on the developers. That's not on the studio. That's not on the hobby. That's on the kid. That's on part of it. You could say is even on the parents because they didn't help their kid understand like, oh, but this is just all fictional. Like you could feel this way, but it's a video game, so you're allowed to do that stuff. The game wants you to do that stuff. Um, if my kid tried to hijack a plane, I'd probably just give up. I'd be like, you're on your own, buddy. I'll buy you a plane. You go fly wherever you want. Whatever happens, happens. You're right. Here's a bag of fruit snacks and like a cup of juice. Here you
Cup of
go.
juice.
Yeah, but like a pretty big cup of juice with like a lid on so he doesn't spill it. Because if I was that
Nah,
little
I know,
kid, I'd
right?
spill my cup of juice immediately.
You got a big cup of juice. When he opens it up, there's no juice, and it's just an AK-47 inside.
Yeah. And then he's like, I can't do that. I can't kill people in real life. I can only do that in video games as he's flying away in a plane.
Well, does that conclude all your thoughts on cable being dead?
Yeah, I definitely think cable's been dead. There's studies out there. There's like obviously websites that prove it too. That it's been on the decline for a long time. We as the younger generation are showing that we just don't care about it. Um, and there's a lot of people that either use streaming service or even YouTube. YouTube has a lot of shows and stuff on it as well.
Or
At the ease of access, like I guess you could argue cable, you could record your shows, but what happens if you run out of space compared to I don't know.
I ain't never
I
did
wouldn't.
that. Even when I had Netflix for like 10 years, I never recorded something to watch it offline.
I used to do that like Dr. Phil all the time. I used to watch like the new Dr. Phil would come out while I was at school. I was like, I can't miss that.
I don't even
Not at
think
all.
that we had the feature to do that like when I was growing up having cable. Like I know that existed, but I don't think we like my household had that, and if we did, I didn't even know how to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. You just have to like there's a downside to it too
Really
though
matter
because
now.
yeah, like you could turn it off like your TV in order to record it. But if you're watching another show, depending on like what plan you have, let's say I was watching Total Drama Island. That's a pretty good example. My mom was watching The Voice. Well, my mom was at work. She wanted to record The Voice. For some reason, technology did not allow us to do both at the same time. So I had to either cancel the recording or watch The Voice. So I would just turn on the TV because why am I going to watch The Voice, man? I'm watching Total Drama Island. You think The Voice interests me? Like all the people that I like end up not really going that far. So I'm not going to invest myself into it. And God forbid I'm going to say, oh, I'm not going to record it because my mom is going to give me a cup of juice and send me on my way if I did. So, um, but
Love the
overall,
plan.
yeah. Overall, I'm going to conclude it. I personally think streaming is a lot better. Do I agree with corporations? Do I agree with their motives? Not necessarily, but it's the age of the internet, man. If you want to watch Shameless, if you want to see some Netflix originals, if
I
you want to
love
watch
that
some
show.
old movies, Shameless, that was a really good show. If you want to watch like your old nostalgia things, you could always go on the internet, and it's available at the touch of your fingers. And we don't support it, but there's matey. There's
Yeah,
certain
I don't
alternatives.
condone it, but
Yeah, there's
sometimes that
alternatives to like watching what you want to watch. So like you're never really missing out and you're saving so much money in the meantime to watch it once again whenever you want instead of having to fight on
that's
what
right.
show you want to watch and recording.
So I think we'll wrap up this episode with a joke. So, Crimson, what is a pirate's favorite letter?
I have no idea, CH. What is a pirate's favorite letter?
Tis the sea, matey. Thank you all for
I've
watching.
actually I actually want to comment on that. I have not heard that and I'm trying really hard not to laugh because that was awful.
Oh, wow, okay. Bye,
Well,
everyone.
goodbye.